Well, I finally did it. I finished The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom after months of playing it, and I have to say that it is one of my favorite games of all time. Words cannot express how much I love this game, and it is a gigantic step up from Breath of the Wild. And The Legend of Zelda is one of my all-time favorite game franchises of all time. I've really loved the game all the way since Ocarina of Time. I played it in my childhood, Majora's Mask, and I just really enjoy the way Zelda evolves its formula every single game. Like, it just pushes the boundaries of what is possible with these games, even with the limitations of the Nintendo Switch, because let's be honest, Nintendo Switch in 2023 still feels like very outdated with the, the hardware, compared to things like the PS5, the Xbox Series X, and it's not really a problem if you play games that are kind of like made for the Switch. For example, there are a lot of amazing indie games that don't really push the boundaries of graphics. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is not like that impressive, like for example Red Dead Redemption 2, Death Stranding, The Last of Us Part 2, like those kind of games. Like, it doesn't try to do that, but at the same time, it does so many amazing things beautifully, not only from a graphics standpoint. For example, it does a really great job with the graphics in terms of like the style of the game. For example, like the cell shading, the way the characters and like items and environments work in the universe, like with its limitations. It does a really amazing job with it, and I just really absolutely loved everything it did, because the game is just beautiful to look at. Every single area of the game is very different, and it adds a lot of different stuff from Breath of the Wild. For example, like the Sky Islands, when the sun hits, like you can see, like for example, the sunsets and the sunrises in like the upper islands. Everything just looks so beautiful, and I just loved everything about it. And that is like a big part of the game, is the Sky Islands and also the depths, which I'll go into a little bit deeper, pun intended, later on in the video. But it's just amazing, like how each environment in Tears of the Kingdom just blows it out of the park, and there's so many things to explore. Like, even after hours and hours of playing this game, I feel like I haven't barely scratched the surface of all the different areas, like the different dungeons, environments, locations that I can explore. For example, I didn't even finish like 50% of the depths, and I still felt like it was a very complete experience with the bosses, the games that like you find down there, like some like the puzzles and the things you can encounter in the depths, and it just is pretty amazing. But before I go into that, let's talk about the plot of Tears of the Kingdom. So this one picks up several years after Breath of the Wild, and Link and Zelda are living peacefully in Hyrule, and they discover a place beneath the castle where they find this mysterious corpse, something we saw in the first teaser for Tears of the Kingdom, and it is actually the corpse of Lord Ganondorf, which is a very amazing recurring villain in every single Zelda game. Well, not every single game, but it's basically like the nemesis of Link, kind of like Joker and Batman, Spider-Man and Green Goblin. It's just like, basically, if Link goes against Ganondorf, it's a Legend of Zelda game. And that is something amazing, because in the last game, we kind of saw this like Calamity Ganon, which was kind of unclear if it was Ganondorf or not. I feel like that wasn't explained that much, but in this one, like, you get to see the backstory of what happened. It's kind of weird because it retcons some stuff from Breath of the Wild. For example, like what happened to the other shrines from Breath of the Wild. Like, why are these like Sky Islands suddenly up there? So it kind of feels like a reboot of the franchise again, like even after Breath of the Wild, even though it's a direct sequel. Because lore-wise, there's a lot of things that don't make any sense. For example, like the depths, like how the map is changed for the new game. Like, all of that kind of isn't explained that clearly, and it's kind of like those games where everything is told like kind of like indirectly, like you gotta deduce a lot of stuff, like why are these things here, like what happened to this land. But it's not really an issue. Like, honestly, I feel like like the game was so wonderful that those kind of things are not really that much of a big deal for me, because I enjoy the game and the gameplay and like everything that happens with this world and the new tools you have. For example, like the Ultra Hand, which is something I'll talk about more. But yeah, lore-wise, a lot of things don't make sense, but it's not like a big deal. Basically, throughout the course of the story, you kind of repeat the same kind of like formula of Breath of the Wild. For example, you visit the same 4 areas, you battle different enemies, you battle different like bosses, and solve different mysteries from last time. For example, last time it was the Divine Beasts, and now you gotta find a boss in each section, like for example, the 4 kingdoms of Hyrule that continue the story, and you also gain a different ally in each area, which, it's kind of the same as before, but it's not really like that big of a deal. I feel like it was so enjoyable that I was like happy to do it again, but like kind of remix in the way that Tears of the Kingdom makes it with, like the new environments and all that stuff. So yeah, the plot is extremely similar for Breath of the Wild, but I feel like it's not a big deal. Although I kind of would love if they continue the formula to something else. I would like to see like a story like Wind Waker, like exploring new lands. For example, like I love the ocean. For example, like the small ocean section in Tears of the Kingdom is just so enjoyable that I would love a full game like exploring different islands, kind of like Wind Waker back in the day. And yeah, I would love to, like the formula of the story to be expanded in new ways. So like I said before, the graphics and the setting make it a very beautiful game to look at, but also I love the themes in Tears of the Kingdom. There's a lot of different like ancient ruins and sculptures from the Zonai that are this new race that it was introduced in this game. And there's a lot of clues to know like what happened to the civilization, like what are these people that like the inventions, especially like all the magic. Like also I love the way that it adds a lot of science fiction elements to the story of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, in so many amazing new ways. Like this feels like a more science fiction-y story than previous Zelda entries, and I'm all for it. And this ties directly into the gameplay, because in the gameplay there's a lot of different things you can do with especially the tool called the Ultra Hand. Basically Nintendo tried to make this game into a very creative new like thing, like Minecraft, like kind of a more sandbox oriented game, and I was all for it. I absolutely loved the creations that people made with the Ultra Hand ability. It was just so amazing. Like you could basically like stick things, create things like cars, like spaceships, airplanes, helicopters, whatever you wanted. Like there were so many tools available to do crazy creations, and that is something amazing, because games like this one, and for example Starfield, which I'm playing right now, like really make people creative in ways that a lot of games don't do. And that is something that I love. For example, I just loved the sandbox elements of Minecraft, and yeah, I'm all for it. And it was just one of the best things of the game. Also, another ability is like the fuse ability. So this game kind of like replaces the special arrows from the last one, but it adds such a fun and interesting mechanic that I enjoyed in so many ways. For example, you could fuse anything to your swords, to your arrows, basically. Like your weapons and shields could fuse itself with different like elements, different like abilities that make you, like for example, freeze or burn enemies, and basically create many stronger weapons. And that was such an amazing ability too. Like at the beginning I was skeptical. I was like, this game seems kind of weird, but like when you really get into the fuse ability, you realize like how fun it is to just create like these crazy weapons, like based from like monster horns and that kind of stuff. And I just loved it. And the final thing that I loved about the gameplay is the cooking. This is something that doesn't really change much from Breath of the Wild, but I just love the cooking in this game. Like every single meal looks so delicious. I would just love to cook all this stuff in the real world. For example, you can gather ingredients, and there's a lot of different recipes that you can make, and these like add like different like effects to your character. It makes you like stronger. It makes you like have more damage, resistance to different elements, and I just loved it, because I love creating these things like different pizzas and gathering ingredients. It basically has like a whole entire cooking mini game inside the game, and that's something I really enjoyed, because you know I love food. I just absolutely love eating all these kind of things, and I loved it. So anyways, those were pretty much all my thoughts on the gameplay. I love the combat, and I didn't mind the weapons breaking, because there's so many amazing weapons that you can just keep like changing them, and I just loved it so much. And going back to the plot and the characters, I loved it. Like a lot of the characters from Breath of the Wild are missing. There's new characters in the Four Kingdoms, and Link and Zelda, like their journeys continue in this one in very interesting ways. I especially love, oh, and also by the way, I'm going to go into some light spoilers right now, and spoilers towards the ending, so if you haven't played or finished the game, don't watch this section. But in the game, basically, like Zelda travels to the past. She tries to solve this mystery, which is kind of like revealed throughout the Dragon Tears, which was an interesting way of storytelling. And she sends the Master Sword to Link back in the present, and turns into a dragon. Like that entire story with the dragons, and like it's kind of like told in pieces throughout the, you know, like the campaign. Well, not campaign, like the missions you do over the course of the game, the exploration. But I just thought it was really interesting. I especially loved the final battle against Ganondorf turned as a dragon. It was just so beautiful, and like I love the themes of you know, like saving the day, like solving this mystery, and like the beautiful ambient of Tears of the Kingdom just made it so worth it. And yeah, I just love the game in so many ways. I think it's one of the best games of 2023. And as a final score, I'm going to give it a solid 98 out of 100. And I just absolutely love the game. And I didn't give it 100% because I feel like 100% is just reserved for like the very, very, very special things. And this game is kind of competing with other ones for my game of the year. For example, Lies of P and Hi-Fi Rush and Resident Evil 4. Like I'm still deciding which one of those four is going to be my game of the year. But this game is just near perfect in every single way. It's just so fun to play. The perfect continuation of Breath of the Wild. And I don't know where they're going to go from here, because it is just there's so many amazing things that I loved about the game. But anyways, those are pretty much all my thoughts. Solid 98. And yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom. So anyways, if you like the game, please go like and share and watch my gameplay videos. And yeah, if you like this video, I'm going to be publishing a lot of reviews in the next couple months. So anyways, thank you all guys for watching, and I'll see you around.